Hello and welcome to the Rangers Rabble. It's happened. We've actually signed somebody. I know nobody can believe it, but we have actually signed somebody. We've signed Todd Cantwell from Norwich. No fee has been put out there, so I'm sure everybody will be saying it was either 10 grand or 10 million, whatever somebody wants to make it up, they can feel free to put that out there. I'll just read a little bit that was on the Rangers website, where the manager basically speaks a little bit about him, saying that he was extremely happy to welcome Todd to Rangers. He is a player that fully aligned with our playing style, and we believe he will be a key player for the club moving forward. I'll come to you, Brian. You had some great stats there just before we went live, so let's hear those great stats about Todd Cantwell.
Well, he had his breakout sort of season in the Premier League in 2019-20, and he scored against some decent clubs, Chelsea, Man City, Everton, Arsenal, Wolves, and Palace. So he had 6 goals that season in the Premier League. I suppose for an attacking midfielder just promoted, you can say that's a decent return. And then I think after that season, he was getting touted a lot for a move to a bigger club, and it was, I think according to the sort of website, they're saying that he had a value, like their value was 22 million. But I mean, I remember watching Sky Sports at the time, and they were coming away with bids of 35, 40, 45 even, the stupid money that's in the Premier League. So he's played for England under 21s, so I just feel he's lost his way a little bit at Norwich, and he's looking to get going and kickstart again. So let's just, we've done it with a few players, we've already got, Goldson had his issues at Brighton, and then obviously Tavernier, we got him from the lower leagues, and Joe Aribo, and we've made them into, what they are now. So it's on the face of it, it looks a good signing, but the proof will be in the pudding on the pitch.
Mark, I'll come to you. Obviously, the manager seems to think that he fits the criteria of what he's looking for. He obviously thinks he's going to fit the system and how the manager wants to play. What's your thoughts on the signing, and are you happy with like the type of signing that we've made for our first signing in January?
Yeah, I'm over the moon. Absolutely over the moon. I think he's a fantastic signing and a fantastic player, this boy. Potential. I mean, we speak about potential all the time, but looking back at this boy's career so far, he's shown that he can easily cut it in the Premiership with the big boys. So he's done it. Obviously, like Brian says there, he's fell by the wayside a wee bit, kind of lost his way. I'm not 100% sure what the reasons are behind that. I think that a fresh start is what he needs, and a fresh start with the most successful club in the world, and something massive. So he's came to the right place, and just hope that his mentality matches his talent. And if that's the case, then this could be a massive, massive signing for us. As I said, looking at what Beale's brought in, I think he's looking at very, very technically gifted players. He's looking at youth for a start, which is brilliant. But he's also looking at youth that are ready to come straight into our first team. So for me, brilliant. Lots of powerful runner, on the ball, off the ball, creative, technically very good. Works hard as well. So I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of positives here for this boy. So as I said, for me, a fantastic signing, and for me, a real coup. It's a real coup for us to get a boy this kind of calibre. I think it's a smashing signing.
Right, Brian, I'll come to you. You can answer this question. When are we going to see him on the park, Brian? Since you're the manager on the Rangers Rabble, when are we going to see Todd Cantwell on the pitch for Rangers? Are we maybe going to see him on Saturday off the bench?
I would suggest so, yeah. A bench appearance, maybe for obviously depending on how fit he is. I mean, we don't even know if he's near match fit, because he's obviously not played a lot of games recently, so it'll all depend on his match fitness. But I mean, I would imagine a signing like that, he'll certainly be coming off the bench. I would assume on Saturday, and then all depending, as I say, how fit he is, how well he does on Saturday is how much he'll get used in the games going forward. But I would imagine it'll be a sub appearance on Saturday, definitely.
I don't think Curry Muncher's impressed with your decor there, Mark. He's saying, well, it's nice to see the Rabble are branching out and having guests on from location. We'd like to say hi to Mark live from down under on Prisoner Cell Block H. To be fair, I mean,
My
that's
missus, I'm telling you, my missus will kill him. This cost a fortune.
to believe that, by the way. So let's just leave it at that before it goes any further. Stephen's saying he hopefully gets a start against St Johnstone. Look, I think it's fair to say that it might be a big ask for him to start straight away. I think there might be one of those ones where he comes off the bench and he maybe makes an impact. And then obviously looking forward after that, we've got a busy schedule of games coming up anyway, so he'll certainly be utilised between now and the end of the season, put it that way, which I think is good. Just see what we're saying. Mark saying it's a cracking signing for what level he's playing at. And I think that's the thing, Brian, isn't it? This kid is obviously showing his ability in the Premier League. When I was looking at the Norwich website, he's obviously won promotion twice with Norwich from the Championship. So we're not talking about some guy that's maybe not actually shown his true quality. Yeah, he's lost his way a little bit, but he's still only 24.
Yeah.
It does feel like it's the right type of signing under Michael Beale, doesn't it?
Yeah, as Mark alluded to earlier, it's the age. It seems to be the sort of age that Michael Beale's going for, and he's definitely wanting guys who are going to be in the mid sort of 20s. And as you say, he came into the Premier League and he did well, and there was talks of a big move. To I think it was somebody in the chat was saying, was it Spurs, Arsenal, and possibly Liverpool. So the big guys were sniffing around at one point, so they were willing to spend a bit of money on him and take him to wherever they were wanting to go. So it just seems, as we've said, he just seems to have lost. It all depends as well what managers have come in, like Norwich. He maybe just didn't click with the managers, So it's all dependent on all that as well. If the new manager doesn't fancy you, then you have no chance. So it's got Michael Beale's signing written all over it with the age and his technical ability. So you've just got to trust the manager and hope we get this one right.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point as well. And I think this is one of the reasons why maybe the kids come up here. Is because Michael Beale is obviously known for bringing in kind of younger players, 25 and under most of the time, and helping them develop. So this seems like the right kind of signing for Todd Cantwell to come in and work under Michael Beale. And Michael Beale was obviously very excited to have somebody of the standard of Todd Cantwell. Mark, when you look at Michael Beale's first signing, is this the type of signing that you think moving forward that we'll see more younger players who are technically gifted, who've maybe played at a level that he knows, i.e. the English levels, is because that's maybe the core market that we're going to work in for a fair amount of the time. But are we also expecting somebody like Nicholas Raskin, who's obviously 21, he's obviously played in the Belgium league, he's obviously well known already. However, he's another guy who's always had a few problems at his own club, but maybe Michael Beale feels as though he can get the best out of him as well.
I think that Beale's main body of work's been with youth. I think over the years he's worked a lot with a lot of young boys all over the place down England. Even obviously the wee spell in Brazil as well. But I think mainly his large part of his career has been with youth. And I think a lot of these players will have crossed his path, even the likes of Rabble and Bassi and stuff like that. A lot of these players will have crossed his path over the years. So this is a pool that he knows. And let's face it, if it's something that you know and you're comfortable with, and you understand that kind of age group and stuff, then and obviously all these young boys will know Michael Beale from his work that he done before. So I think that it's a good age group. It's a good kind of they'll obviously get the vibe from Michael Beale when they talk to him. Michael Beale's very very straight talking. And I think that a lot of them, if you listen to a lot of players that I've worked with, Beale, they enjoy his training sessions. They enjoy how he coaches. They always speak highly of him. Everybody always speaks highly of him. So it's something that he's obviously quite young himself, and he's a progressive manager. So I think that it's a match made in heaven. As I said, bringing young boys in I mean, we don't even know how much we spent on him, but I don't think we're spending fortunes on the likes of Cantwell. Hence the reason why I think it's a masterstroke. It's a real coup to bring players with this kind of calibre, as far as I'm concerned. But I think that from his knowledge, I think he's picking players from his knowledge that he knows will be able to handle the pressure and compete and play up here in Scotland as well. So for me, I've no qualms. He's obviously he's had a hand in a few young players coming to this club previously, and they've all done really really well. So as I said, more of the same as far as I'm concerned. On Raskin, same again, 21-year-old. Very highly thought of in his own country. Capped 21s level continuously for Belgium as well. So although they're young players, they are at a standard and they're actually playing first team football as well, which is massive. We're not bringing young players in just to have a punt on them.
No.
So for me, that's massive as well. As I said, I think Cantwell's 129 games for Norwich as well. So as I say, that's experience, and especially at a young age, that's brilliant for me. Absolutely brilliant. So match made in heaven. As long as they're at that level where they've got experience rather than is maybe 2 or 3 starts, then I'm all for it. As I said, more youth the better. Because he's looked at this squad and thought to himself, we need legs in the middle of the park. All 3 of us have sat there and probably thought the same as well. We're desperate for legs in the middle of the park. So this is what he's trying to address straight away.
Yeah. I'll come to you, Brian. This is obviously one of the questions that's in the chat as well. Where do you see Rangers actually utilising Cantwell? Obviously, it might mean that Tillman then drops back into the number 8 position. He maybe becomes part of the midfield to allow Cantwell to play higher, but then you've got more attacking players on the pitch. Is that how you see it as well?
He certainly appears to be a 10. I can't imagine him playing like an 8, a 6, like in the defensive midfield role. He could even play sort of, I would imagine he could even utilise him out wide if needed be. Sakala's position perhaps, or because let's face it, they're not dropping Kent. So, there might be just depending who we're playing. Instead of, obviously Sakala likes to have space behind the fullbacks to run onto. Obviously, Cantwell's nowhere near the pace of Sakala. So it could be a case of that, maybe tighter pitches, you'll maybe switch to Cantwell on the right instead. So it all depends. And I was just looking there, he's on a wage of about 25,000 a week at Norwich. So I'm not sure what his wage will be up here, but you can imagine it'll be in the sort of roughly the same bracket. So, but no, I see him playing as the 10 or maybe a wide right player.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how we utilise him. He has obviously got a wee bit of versatility about him. He can move about the pitch a little bit, but it'll just be intriguing to see how he fits in. Hadji, Lowry, Tillman, Cantwell, Kent, Fashion. I suppose one of the things that a lot of people have been kind of busting out for is that at home, we probably don't even need a number 6 in some of these games at Ibrox. We could just have 3 really aggressive midfield players that want to go and attack teams, and then you've still got the 3 guys that are high up the pitch anyway. So it will be interesting under Michael Beale once he gets in the players that he wants, because at the moment he's obviously having to kind of sort of use what he's got basically, and he's managed to get the best out of those guys. However, now that he's got Cantwell and obviously the rumours surrounding Raskin and Whittaker and potentially other players that will be linked with, these are all very much players that want to get in the front foot and that want to be aggressive and want to create. So that will be the interesting part of once everybody's in, how are we going to actually use them all? But that's a good thing for the manager to have all those options into it. It's better than having nothing, which is what we've had for a wee while, unfortunately, in those positions. Twisty's asking any news on Hadji yet? Well, if we're just going with what the manager said recently, he's anticipating that he's going to be back in the squad for this coming weekend. We do have a Glasgow Cup game tomorrow night against Clyde up at the training ground, which I think, all being well, will be played on the grass. So it might be that Hadji maybe gets a small amount of time, or John Souttar gets a small amount of time ahead of Saturday's game. But obviously, we'll need to wait until tomorrow night to see if that's the case. If not, it might just be that they're being saved ahead of Saturday. They might both end up on the bench. I'll come to you, Brian. When you look at some of the players that have obviously been utilised recently in that squad, and maybe there's one or two that are a bit jaded, is there anybody that stands out to you that can maybe do with a rest for a game or two?
I think the obvious one is probably Lundstrom. He's toiled for a few weeks now, and it's glaringly obvious, because I think they even said that he was carrying an injury as well. So there's a possibility there that Lundstrom could get rested and get himself fully fit again. A rest is as good as anything sometimes. So there's a chance there. I would suggest, or possibly hint, that it's Lundstrom. It might just make way for a wee while and get himself back to some sort of fitness and form that we're used to seeing John Lundstrom do. I think he's been certainly jaded in the last few games. He's been missing an awful lot of passes recently that are basic, and that's just not like Lundstrom. So I would think that Lundstrom might make way, and it'll be Cantwell. That could be a straight swap straight there, maybe not initially, but in the future. But Lundstrom's the one I would suggest that possibly needs a rest.
I'll come to you as well on that, Mark. Is there anybody that kind of stands out to you at the moment that could do with a rest, or is it just been like the heavy pitches recently that have maybe caught up with some of the players, or is it just the amount of games that we have played, having not really been able to kind of switch the squad about much?
I think it's probably all of the above. I mean, some of the pitches are absolutely horrendous. I don't know how we can, professional teams and professional footballers need to play on pitches like this. It blows my mind. But I think it's probably, obviously there was three games in 6 days or something there as well. So I think it's probably a mixture of all of that. I probably agree with Brian. I think Lundstrom seems to be. I think when he first came here, you could see he was trying to force things, and I don't think that works for Lundstrom. I think that when he relaxes and he's comfortable, then it happens for him naturally. But yeah, I think maybe Lundstrom a wee rest. I don't see him dropping Lundstrom, because I don't think Jack's fit enough to start 2 or 3 games in a row as well. So, and I think Kamara's probably carrying something as well. So it's a hard one to kind of second guess. I don't think he'll fling Cantwell straight in it either. So um, I don't really know, as I said. But I've seen a couple of guys in the comments saying, why was Cantwell not a starter for Norwich over the last season? I work offshore from Norwich, and obviously speaking to a lot of season ticket holders and stuff like that. So supposedly there was a fallout with the director of football, I believe, when they got relegated, and I think that's where it stemmed from. And I think it's kind of snowballed from there. I said a lot of them were saying about trying to get his head straight and stuff like that, but I think there was a bit of there was a comment. I think the director of football had made a comment regarding the fact that he was sitting in the pitch at when they get relegated, and he sat there for quite a while. I think it was quite upset, and allegedly the director of football had made the comment that it was doing that for the cameras. So I think that's where the fallout started. Whether that's true or not, just as I say, that's just talking to a couple of Norwich season ticket holders, but that's kind of what I've heard. I mean, these things grow arms and legs and stuff like that, but maybe it was just form, and not happy with a tactic, or these things happen. It's maybe just like Brian said earlier, the new manager didn't fancy him, or wanted something different from him that maybe he wasn't happy with. As I said, these things snowball, but as I said, I've no qualms with this boy having a fresh start and coming in here and trying to make a name for himself at Rangers. But as I said, back to your initial thing, where I don't know who you would rest, and I think that they'll need to try and ease this boy into the side. I think that you may be right. He's probably going to get maybe 15 minutes, hopefully. So I said, but they'll assess him. They'll assess him this week at training and see how fit he is. And if they think he's ready, they might fly him in. So, as I said, it's all second guessing at the minute.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. I mean, obviously, we're not privy to what's been going on at Norwich. The fact that he's obviously up here, hopefully, he's ready to go. You know that he's fit enough to come in and make an impact reasonably quickly, because that's something we do need. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we've been kind of screaming out for new signings, is for fresh legs in this team. I think one of the interesting things we can't is you wonder if he's just ended up being in the same boat as Ken and Morelos, where he's thought, I don't really want to be playing in the Championship, and maybe that was why he's let his contract run down a little bit to this stage. And you wonder at certain clubs that maybe they're not happy about that happening. And it's maybe just been one of those circumstances as much as anything else. This was a guy who was playing in the Premier League, maybe felt like he should still be there, and maybe didn't want to play in the Championship. You don't know. I mean, these are all just guessing things. Just a bit like what Mark's saying. If it was something that's been said by the director of football and he's not taking it too well, that generally means that it's not going to end well for either party, is it really? And in the end, he signed for Rangers for an undisclosed fee. And it's interesting as well, but I'll come to you on the kind of last point before we finish up ahead of tonight's pod at 7:30. The fact Rangers didn't announce how long his contract was, they just said it was a long-term contract. Do you think this is something moving forward that we'll see more of, that maybe clubs aren't made aware of when somebody's contract's running out type thing?
Could be. It could be. It goes to show as well how much faith they've got in him, giving him a long-term contract. So they obviously like him a lot, and they've, as you say, they've offered him a long-term deal. So if it's security for the club as well, because if he does well for this half of the season and then next season gets his profile up again, then obviously what's coming next. It's the EPL money will be coming at you if he does well, because they know he's done it before, and he just needs his mojo back. And it's possibly a case of a player just needing to feel a bit of the love. If like gone are the days of just giving a player a boot up the backside and telling him to get on with it. You can't do that now. So it's maybe just a case of he just wasn't feeling wanted or loved by Norwich. So and he's decided, no, I'm wanting a fresh change. But I think the long-term contract is just a bit of stability for the club as well, because if he does well, then we'll get a good transfer fee out of it as well. So, and I dare say there's a sort of thing written in that if a club comes in and wants to buy him, then as long as the valuation's met, then we can let him go. So, but I just think the long-termness of the contract is more security for us rather than the player.
Okay, just to finish up before we kind of stop and allow the guys tonight to jump on, Curry Muncher's asking about, well, if there is no one leaving this window, the summer window is going to be a total clear out. That's something that I know the guys are going to touch on tonight, Curry, so make sure you join the lads at 7:30 tonight. I think given the fact the manager seems to have kind of changed his tune a little bit in the recent press conference about potentially one or two leaving now, whereas before he kind of seemed to kind of comment that he didn't want anybody to go. So that's interesting that maybe there is bids on the table, and Rangers are working on other deals, which you'll see players coming in before other players are allowed to leave. But I'm sure the guys will touch on that tonight at 7:30. Thanks for joining us. That was a wee bit of a sort of impromptu jump on there, but obviously whenever Rangers sign somebody, it is worthwhile breaking news to jump on and talk about it. Hopefully we get to see Todd on Saturday, but make sure you join the guys tonight at 7:30, and we'll see you all again very soon. Thanks for joining us. Cheers.